Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Elevating Your Life. So happy to have you joining us today. I have a wonderful guest joining us today. We have Iona Jenkins. She is an author, creative writer, and poet with an MA in Education, Guidance and Counseling from Brunel University, professional diplomas in person-centered counseling, clinical hypnotherapy, then hypnotherapy and psychotherapy with the Institute of Clinical Hypnosis in London. Iona's book, To Sing with Bards and Angels, is just fantastic. It is an invitation to travel through landscapes evoked by beautiful language into the heart of nature and imagination. It really is a fascinating book, and I am just so happy to have you on the show today, Iona, and share you with my audience. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. It's so amazing to be able to talk to all those people in America from the south coast of Wales.
Yes, and we're just so excited to have you joining us from Wales. I love it. It's just amazing and wonderful. Wow. Well, first off, what inspired you to create and write To Sing with Bards and Angels? What brought that about?
It's quite a long story, really, Paula. It came in two phases. First of all, I've always been into nature ever since I was a small child. I spent the first 3 years of my childhood on a small holding where there were not any other kids, but there was lots of nature. So it started early. And right through my life, I've been into walking and looking at nature and being in nature and feeling refreshed by nature, nourished by nature. And I think it's something that everybody can do. If they don't feel good, nature will always put it right.
Yes, yes. Oh, and I love that description because nature
So,
does refresh us. It does so much for us, doesn't it? It nurtures it.
yeah.
It's
And so this came in two different places. First of all, I moved from my home county of Yorkshire down to London, and I got into walking the parks and gardens whilst I was working because there wasn't a lot of time. But there were some amazing parks and gardens. One of them, Kew Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew, where they do a lot of conservation work. And I used to go in there on Saturdays quite often and just walk for a couple of hours or sit and meditate under the trees. And I got the impression whilst I was doing that there was somebody with me, that there was a kind of presence. And then I got the idea that it was a druid. And druid, of course, is the ancient Celtic religion, although it still exists today in a very much more modern form. And and so I started to get interested in that and think, well, how do I find out more about this? But it wasn't until I came to Wales that that happened. Now, the bards were the poets, the artists, the singers, the musicians of the Druid clans. And they would actually keep the stories of the ancestors alive by acting them out, telling them to people, writing poetries, singing songs, getting people to join in. It must have been very joyous around a campfire, and it kept the old tales alive, and it actually opened doors. It helped to raise people's awareness. So that's where I found out about bards when I came into Wales. And but the story about the angels started much earlier. It started in the Catholic Church when I was a child, where I was always interested in angels and wondered about them for most of my life. And then we had some Italian neighbours in London who, when they went back to Italy, invited us over to stay. And they lived in the province of Lazio near Rome. So we went to stay with them, and we obviously had to go into the Eternal City and do a lot of sightseeing. And one of those places we went was the Vatican. Now, all over Rome, there's statues of angels, fantastic artwork by the great masters, and in those days, people did religious art because that's how they got paid. And it was quite amazing. I was sitting in the Sistine Chapel under all these Michelangelo paintings on the ceiling and thinking, wow, this is different to the church. This is very much different. This is a different feeling. I'm feeling something else. What is it? And I got the impression that there was something very, very creative I needed to find out. And then later on, I was down in St. Peter's and I was looking at the statue that Michelangelo created of La Pieta, the Madonna holding the dead Christ. And whilst I was looking at that, I thought, it was the compassion on her face and the pain on the statue of the Christ. And I thought, there's a divine mother that nourishes us, that holds us when we take our transition and keeps us safe if we could only tap into that. There's a feminine here. I'm feeling a feminine in the Vatican. So, which was quite amazing because there are no feminine cardinals, they're all men. And then I went back to Lazio and later on went out and sat on a bench with my notebook and pen, as I often do. And suddenly all the images from the day, all the paintings, the statues, seemed to mingle with the nature that I was sitting in. There were lemon trees, absolutely laden. It was early autumn. There were lemon trees cascading over garden fences covered in fruit, and mountains in the background, and afternoon sunshine that was gold and rippling. It was unbelievable. And suddenly the whole thing came together. It all intertwined. And I started to write a poem. And I call that poem The Language of Angels. And that's where this all started. Would you like me to read it to you?
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Thank
Right,
you.
I'll just have to put my specs on because I can't see to read without them. So, there is a peace in dove grey mountains and this rich red Roman earth, as late October sunshine wraps my skin in its subtle scent of ripened lemons. The leaves turn slow from green to gold. I see my inspiration like a lighted lamp, and then my mind becoming still at last is more than just a little glad to be here in Italy. Such a warm, embracing place where my own creative truth outruns the waves of restless, racing thoughts, and the sound of my heart's voice rises, speaking soft in the language of angels. Now, the language of angels,
Language of angels. I love that. I love that.
the creative flow,
Yes.
flowing spirit. And I thought, that's what this is. Whenever we do art, when we write, when we paint, what we're experiencing is a language of angels.
Mm-hmm.
I took my poem home. I gave a copy to my friends who have still got the original copy. And I took a copy home and I filed it for a while. Years later, coming to live here, one February night, there was a full moon, a snow moon, and it was so bright. And I live in a 2-bed apartment, with a sea outside. And I can see over the water to the shores of Somerset in England. And the moon had formed this fantastic path of light on the sea. First it was gold and then it turned silver. And I was just sort of standing there thinking, I must meditate. So I put a blanket around me so I could keep the door open. And I started to meditate on it. And immediately I got an impression in my forehead of a being tall, serene, calm, pearly white, and surrounded by pale rainbows. And I thought, that's an angel. It has to be. And then it was as though, looking at the moonlight, I thought that image I'm seeing in my head is being given to me by the moonlight. He's standing on that silver path. And so the angel came into being. I thought, how can I work with this? There's a language of angels. I wrote about it. Will this angel speak to me in his language? And so I start to get impressions. And I think, I'll write down what's coming into my head. So I started to write down, and then I started to ask questions, and then I got answers dropping in. And then I asked another question and more answers dropping in. I thought I'm having a conversation with this being that I first see inside me, and now I think he's on the silver path. And I didn't find his name until way into the book. But I've written 5 angel conversations in this book, in the
Mhm.
moonlight. So that's how this book, the To Sing with Bards and Angels, came about. First of all, the poets, me being a modern day druid, and having a bardic voice and being able to write poetry, sing songs and tell stories.
Yes.
And then the angel coming in and speaking to me with his wisdom. And now the angel said, I'm bringing you creative wisdom so that whatever you create will bring will be wise. You'll do it from your heart. It's a path of your heart which I'm showing you. And if you work through your heart, you'll produce things that enhance life, not things that disrupt life, or things will harmonize. You'll take away the disharmony, at least in your own life and maybe in your immediate environment. If you're writing a book, maybe you can bring harmony into other people's lives.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's how it came about, and then it just turned into a book. So I sent it to a publisher, it got accepted, and here we are.
I love it. I love it. And in your book, you say when the mind and heart come together, the
Yes,
language of angels is easy to translate, allowing us to create with love. Oh my God.
that's right.
That,
Yes.
yes, that is a powerful statement. That's so true. Yeah.
And I had another thing that I wrote a line quite a long time ago as well that said, when the mind feels crazy, take refuge in the heart.
Oh, I
Pull the
love
pull
that.
the mind down into the heart,
Mhm.
and let the two introduce your mind to your heart, so
Yes.
that your heart says, well, look, if you create that, it's only going to make you more depressed. It'll make other people depressed. If you create a story that's really depressing, maybe a lot of people will be depressed. Although sometimes we can use these stories as a cathartic exercise, to work with our own shadows. Whether it's good to put them out or not is debatable. Yeah, so I wanted to write something that would lift people, like the ancient bards, to open a doorway and to let the angel walk through and lift them up.
Oh, I love it.
In,
And and the
it,
angels do lift us up. They really do.
yeah.
And it's so true when we get out of the head and the mind chatter, so many things in life that can distract us
Hmm.
and just, give ourselves a big loving hug residing in our heart. Oh my gosh, so much can open up for us and what
Absolutely.
we can feel. And the angels is a big part of that, don't you think?
I would say so. I think, I'm very intuitive. I'm quite visionary, and I sense subtle realms intermingling. That it's not just my imagination. I can use my imagination to create pictures, to give things form. But the whole thing just isn't just my imagination. Some of the things I write when I ask these questions, I didn't know the answer to. And I thought, how did I figure that out? But it really does make sense.
Yes, yes. And
So,
I love that you discuss nature and what we can get when we tune into nature and feel
mhm.
that. In your book, you talk about a wisdom walk.
Yes.
Tell the audience what a wisdom walk is.
Well, a wisdom walk is basically, it's based on mindfulness. Is that you go out and you don't just walk with your mind chattering on, adding up the grocery bill, thinking what you did last week was wrong, or taking your mind far ahead into the future, and not just being a tourist walking around, just so, oh yeah, that's all right. There's a tree, I'm walking on. Uh, Let's just stop and look at what we're standing in. And Rumi said, wherever you stand, be the spirit of that place. So let's stand still and try and do that. So a wisdom walk. I'm visionary. That's my strongest sense. So the first sense I would use is my sight. And I'd walk out and I'd start to really observe the colours on the trees, different in every season, the light in the sky different in every hour,
Mhm.
and moving through, what animals can I see? What colour green is the grass? What colour green are the trees? Are there any berries, flowers, everything? So you get a nice picture and it's all in colour. Now, an artist could paint that. I'm not a terribly good artist, but I could write about it. And then if you start to listen, what do you hear? You can hear rooks chattering in the treetops. You can hear traffic, that's true, but you can hear all sorts of little things. You can hear the wind rustling in the trees. And if you listen to the wind in the trees, the harmony of the wind in the trees, and put your hands on your heart, you feel your own heartbeat and you feel yourself melting into the rhythm. You can hear that. And from all these things, sometimes you get ideas, sometimes you get answers to questions. And then moving on, how many people taste the air, smell the air?
Mm.
The salt air on my beach tastes so different to the air in a wood.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
and things start to happen. It's amazing when you start to get into this flow, so that you don't just walk, you start to really tune in. You can actually feel the season changing beneath your feet. You can feel it in the air. And I guess that's how the old farmers used to do it before we had calendars and clocks. That they would do that, and animals can do that anyway. It's like a sixth sense that we've lost,
Yes,
and
that's
it's
true.
so easy to bring back.
Yes, it
So
is like a sixth sense. And when you tune into that, it can tell you so much.
mm,
When the sun rises, and yes, the color of the clouds, and there's so much out there that we
yes,
can
you've noticed.
tune into and feel, can't we? And it's easy to forget that, to get so caught up in our busy lives.
And to go
When,
out and look at the sunrise like you,
yes,
and to
yes,
sort of let the sun rays infuse you, those first rays, and actually sing to it. You
yeah,
know, it's
yeah.
incredible. How does that start your day, Paula? That must give
Puts
you
a
an amazing,
smile on your face.
yeah. Me too.
I recently had the grandchildren over for a few days, and
Uh-huh.
my granddaughter and I were outside taking the dogs out in the yard, and there was a bird talking, and she says, "Grammy, that bird is talking to me this morning."
Yes, and it is. And we've forgotten about that, but we knew when we were kids.
Yes, yes,
And
yeah,
that's why kids talk to rocks and goodness knows what, because they can feel the energy in the rock, they can feel the energy in the trees, and the birds are talking to them, and it's quite true.
yes, yes. And would you say, no matter our age or where we're at, we have that available to tune into and feel at any time, any moment. And that's wonderful to celebrate.
I would say that, and I think that anybody can find that it's a magical child. And if you can remember back to little snippets of your childhood when you actually tuned into that and you knew it so well, that magical child raises up again. And every time you do a wisdom walk, it's the magical child that's doing the talking to the trees and the birds. The birds are talking to you. But ask your grandchild what the bird is saying. I bet the child knows.
I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to do that.
That's
Oh,
incredible. Kids are amazing like that. They really do show us sometimes, don't they?
yes. And, something I've always found really amazing is I do love traveling and experiencing other countries or other areas and experiencing the difference in the country, the animals, the area.
Mm.
You can just feel a different energy, and you know, a warmth and love from so many different areas. I mean, it really is wonderful.
Well, I think you must be very tuned in already, and I think you would have no problem wisdom walking.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I am a big fan of that. And something I'm fascinated with, I always have been, is putting my bare feet on something,
Oh yeah,
red rock or the sand at a beach.
yes. You feel the texture under your feet,
Yes.
the rough but soft sand and the hard rock and the coolness of it.
Yeah. It's almost like you connect with everything around you and the creatures that are walking on that sand, and nature and the angels. It really is a beautiful gift for us.
I think so, and I that's what I wanted to do, was to show people that this gift is there, and it's not just for me, and it's not just for one religion, it's for everybody. Now, wherever you are, you don't have to be a native of a particular place, as you've just said. You can just stand there and connect to wherever you are. The images that come to you may be cultural. They may be in images that your mind understands, but the connection is the same for everybody. I might see Celtic knotwork. Someone in India might see something completely different connecting to British soil, for instance.
Yes.
I remember being in Sedona.
Oh, my
Um,
favorite place on the
oh
planet.
wow, there's
Yes.
a connection.
Oh.
I, I looked at Cathedral Rock and saw it covered in my mind's eye, saw it covered in Celtic knotwork.
I have to show you. This is me right down below
Wow,
Cathedral Rock. I had just
Cathedral
been doing
Rock.
Reiki and I stood up and the camera caught it. We didn't see it, but on camera,
Wow,
all the
yes.
violet light.
What amazing memory.
Oh, yes, yes.
Well, it was covered in Celtic knotwork in my mind's eye. It was like this. It's a sacred Native American site, right? So
Yeah,
it's almost like it's reflecting back to me. Look,
very high
we're
vibration.
we're connected through your Celtic culture, way back in your own land. We're still connected,
I love
and
it.
and people don't realize that the connection they have to everything. There are people who think that they own this planet or they're in charge of something, and actually we're all part of its ecosystem. But if we
Yes,
tune into it intuitively, it nourishes us. That's
yes,
what's the amazing part, is that we are nourished by it.
yes. The energy of the nature and everything, it nourishes us, and
Yeah,
it envisions us. As
yes,
you say, we get messages and
we do.
we just can open up. So what would you say to someone listening out there that was like, oh boy, I want to tune into this and tap into this? What would you say would be the first few things they should do?
I think the first thing to do is to go outside and connect to a place in your area. Maybe it's a special tree, maybe it's a park, or maybe it's just a field, um, or just a corner of somewhere, where there are natural things, and just connect to that. Like, connect to the spirit of place and say, look, I'm here. I'd really like to connect to you. I'd really like to feel what you're about, and I'd really like to talk to you. And then just feel your feet on the ground and connect. Feel your heart connect. Then start to use your senses. Look, listen, feel, taste, smell, and feel that connection to that place. And it's amazing sometimes. You can go somewhere and you feel quite worried about something, and when you come back, you feel fine, because somehow you found the answer while you were out there with the trees or the grass or whatever little place you found to connect to.
Yes. Oh,
I
I
have a
love it.
park with an amazing cedar tree that I go see when I want some answers, and I'm never disappointed.
Mhm.
And when the pine cones are out, they smell like incense. It's incredible.
Yes. Yes, yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Iona, please share your website information and where everyone can get a copy of your book, please.
Okay, Paula. It's ionajenkins.com. It's very simple. I've got a blog on there that people can actually sign up to. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Twitter, so people can contact me on Messenger if they like. The book can be bought from the usual places in the States. It can be bought from Barnes and Noble. It can be bought from Amazon. It can be bought from my publisher, johnhuntpublishing.com. Yeah, and any small bookshop, I guess, would order it.
I love it. I love it. To Sing with Bards and Angels. It is a wonderful book.
It's a journey into the creative heart.
It is. Oh, it is. Yeah, perfect description. It is. With just a couple moments left, what last words do you want to share with everyone today, Iona?
I would say if you want to be creative, if you want to tap into your creative heart, then don't worry whether you think you're a great artist or a great writer or a great musician. Just do what you want to do. Create what you want. If you write 2 lines, if you do a sketch, if you paint a naive piece of art in bright colors, whatever you want to do, stitch something, make something, or maybe you might come up with a theory that's very helpful to a lot of people. Just do it. Don't worry about whether it's good enough or not, because the creative spirit doesn't care. The creative spirit just wants us to be able to do that, but to put out through us.
Yes, yes. So the key is just let your creativity flow
And go out in nature
yes.
to let it flow. Wisdom walking, using the senses, will get it started.
Yes, yes. And the wisdom walking, it's a recharge, it's inspiring, and there's really so many messages out there if we're attuned and open to them, aren't
The
there?
angels will speak to us if we're ready to
Yes.
talk, to listen.
Yeah.
Whenever we want to listen, it's there.
Oh, isn't that just, oh, that is just so wonderful and so exciting. Such a blessing. Iona, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very honored to have you on the show.
And thank you, Paula. I've loved talking to you. You're such a happy, colourful person. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And thank you, all your listeners.
Oh, thank you so much. Love, hugs, and blessings. Everyone out there, love, hugs, and blessings. And I will see you again soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.